Okay, so now I'm going to do dynamic block switcher. I'm going to have a little look through that. I'm using the AUGI training program notes ATP076. So I'll have posted those by the time you get this video, segments 1, 2 and 3 on the Moodle site for you to print off as well. So those are the notes I'm kind of going by. So we're going to produce a little table and chairs and add a little few dynamic features to that block. So I'll start off by drawing the actual table and chairs. It's 30, 48, and then a couple of circles, 15 away from the edge and 10mm radius. So that's the table and chairs. Now we're going to make the block. So pick my base point, select my objects, and we're going to call it table and chairs. Allow exploding, click OK, convert it to a block, and we're ready to go. And that's our block created. So we've seen that before, we know how to create the block, that's not too difficult. Now we want to add a few features to it. So if I double left click on it and click OK, we get our block editor dialog box up. Now there's a couple of features in here. We've already kind of had a little kind of quick look at edit block. So open a block definition editor, save block, test block, geometric and dimensional, and we're going to I'll set aside those. They're kind of new features in, so that's kind of a whole other sort of lesson than this one. But what I really kind of want you to kind of focus on is the block authoring palettes here. This little palette. Also over here, we've got a little toggle button to turn on block authoring palettes and turn them off. I kind of just noticed as well that we've got some of the features here, so these are the little parameters, and then we've got our actions here that associate with the parameters, so it's pretty much the same as that. However, there's an additional thing here, parameter sets, which combine both of them, which is a very handy thing, a linear move, a linear stretch. Kind of the first thing we're going to do is a linear stretch, but we're going to do it using parameters and then applying the action. So you can see that the parameter sets would be kind of a quicker way of doing it, but just to show you the technique of how it works, we're going to do it sort of the sort of more detailed way, if you like. So we got those as well. You can see we'd add attributes, and we've also got visibility states, which is a nice neat feature as well. We see that as well, and we could close the block editor. So a few things in here we're going to use. So the first thing we're going to do is what we want to do is we want to actually stretch this. We want to be able to stretch this dynamically to increase the length of our table. So first of all, we have to put in a linear parameter. So before you associate an action, you have to have think of it as a distance, if you like. So we have to put as a dimension. So we have to put in a linear parameter. So if I kind of select a linear parameter, just like adding in a dimension. However, before that, what we might do is just to associate, unlike dimensions, you just pop them in. With this one, if I kind of do a little arrow down key and name, we can kind of name it, and we can kind of say that that's the length of the table. So we're going to add a little bit of information about this, and particularly if your dynamic blocks get complicated, you'd want to do this, but we're going to use that little length feature later on, so make sure you do that one. So before you actually place the parameter, go in and actually name this parameter length. So if I specify my start point as here and then my second point as here, and pop in my distance. Now you notice a little yellow warning box comes up because we've no action associated with that parameter as yet. I just noticed in the notes it kind of gets you to close down and save the changes, and it kind of expects you to sort of have that little thing there, the little action parameters, but it tells you in the notes it won't do anything yet because we haven't applied an action to it. But I kind of see in 2010 that actually doesn't appear, So if I double left click on it and click OK, those little blue triangles don't appear, whereas they did in previous versions. There's no point in them appearing because you can't do anything with them yet because we haven't applied an action to it. So I suppose they've just removed it in recent releases just to avoid the confusion of you thinking you might be able to do something with those and it's not working. But because we haven't, as I said, applied any action yet, it doesn't appear. So just if you see that in the notes. So okay, so not working yet. Let's apply the action to it. So we said we were going to apply a stretch action to it. So come along here and select the stretch action, and it says select parameter. So the first thing you do is actually select what parameter, and the parameter being the distance. So what do you want to stretch? I want to stretch the distance. And then it says specify parameter point to associate with action. So which one do you want to stretch? Do you want to stretch it this way or this way? So you see a little red circle, kind of which direction do you want it to go in? We'll pick the top one. So left click on that to say that we want it to stretch in that direction. So it says specify first corner of stretch frame. So just like the stretch command, you're kind of drawing a window around it. So that's the frame of your stretch action. So you want the chair to come as well, so make sure you include the chair as well. And now select the actual objects you want to stretch. So that's the frame. That's just kind of telling you that this is the whole thing I want to pull up in that direction. Now select the objects. Now, I can left click on that and left click on that, or I can just do as I kind of would normally kind of do this. Select that window. So it's really just about selecting the objects, which is the table and the little chair on the top. So if I right click on that, you can see a little action has been applied there. Stretch action has been applied, and you can position that any way you want, really. Totally up to you where you want that to go, but we've got a stretch action there. It's just a label to say that you've applied a stretch action to that. So I suppose placing it beside that point would be the correct thing to do. If I close that down now and save the changes, hopefully now when we left click on it, you see we've got a little grip there, and up it comes, and you can see we can stretch it. I can even type in an exact distance. We can stretch it to any distance we want, or come back down and change it back to 48, what it was originally. Okay, so that's applying a little stretch action to the block. So maybe you want to kind of try that before you go any further.